There's a special kind of cognitive dissonance that we've had to live with for the last 6 years. The kind that comes on when American democracy and our relationships with the most important people in our lives are destroyed by a joke. Because it is a joke. For decades, believing that tragically deceased celebrities were still alive was a joke. Forwarded email chain scams from aging family members was a joke. Donald Trump becoming president was a joke. But it's a joke in the way that 20-something man-children on 4chan joke about violence and hatred and everything else that helps them feel powerful and invulnerable in a world that scares and disappoints them. Part of the invulnerability is that as soon as they face any consequences, they can say that they didn't mean it, that it was all ironic or sarcastic, while the liberal society that chafes them so badly has to operate around them in good faith. So they get away with their BS every time, gloating that no one has the power to stop them, and whining about it whenever someone tries. That's why it is so satisfyingly sweet to watch the methodical deconstruction of their unhinged lies in the January 6th hearings. The full weight of reality is crumbling the facade to show how much of a ridiculous joke the entire thing is. But it can't resolve the dissonance. Families have been destroyed, lives have been ended, and democracy is on the edge because of a ridiculous, asinine, morbidly unfunny joke. This was the vertigo that I felt in 2016 and 2021. My dad's whole career of exasperating delusions had finally begun its invasion of reality, and it won the battle on the beachhead. The only adequate analogy for it has been used constantly for years now. It's just like your crazy InfoWars addict uncle became president of the United States and tried to stage a coup. In my case, it was my dad, and the same goes for anyone with a paranoid extremist in their life. That person became the actual president of the United States in 2016 and tried to take over the country in 2021. That's the dissonance. How could something so bizarre and cluelessly ineffectual become so dangerous? Even if you love one of them and want to help them, you can't help but churn over how a troupe of ridiculous clowns could rally into a fascist mob. When the truth is, that's the same way that everyone living within a liberal consensus has stood agape once the fascist uprising came. Because that is exactly what fascism is. Conspiracism is fascism. The lifeblood of autocratic regimes is paranoid delusions about enemies conspiring behind the scenes who need to be destroyed at home and then abroad. The autocrat and their followers will always escalate the paranoia into inventing upon their enemies whatever heinous evil will justify what they, and the people they think are like them, want to do to the people they think are not. And there can't be any redress of the conspiracists' grievances without violence. There's no investigation that they're gonna trust. There's no ruling that they're gonna respect. There's no compromising or legislating with someone who has discarded any ideas about how to solve shared problems in exchange for the belief that their opponents are fundamentally evil. They cannot tolerate democracy as long as the conspirators and their supporters have a say. So they can't tolerate democracy at all. Conspiracism has always been and will always be fascism. That's what makes these hearings what they are, and I think what makes them so affecting for me. It's an exposure of what conspiracism is, and it's a vindication of reality in the face of a stupid, murderous joke. But that vindication is a luxury that we can't afford for long. Putting Trump on trial is like fact-checking him. You have to do it. It's absolutely necessary for the sake of fact and truth and justice and a public record of what's happening in history right now. But it's just triage. If you're fact-checking the lie or trying the putsch, you've already lost that round. If history has anything to say about it, you're not even stopping the next one, because history has plenty of fascist uprisings that just use their initial failure to succeed next time. You're doing what you have to do. But all you're doing is damage control, and the vindication will turn to ash in your mouth. Vindication is the luxury of the conspiracist. They dream about it every day. Every email exchange I've had with my dad, every conversation we've had since January 6th has ended, one way or another, with him telling me that the truth will come out. That one day I'll see that he was right all along. He's the one that gets to eternally await the day that he is given the glory and the power he is due for the trials he has suffered against evil. I don't get to do that. We don't get to do that. I have to live in a reality where I don't know most of what's happening and I have no idea what's going to happen. I have to trust people. I want to trust people I can work with to figure all this out and come up with solutions we can compromise on. But he doesn't have to do that because he doesn't want to, and he's chosen to believe that he doesn't need to. All that he and the other fascists need to do is tell each other that the storm is coming, that the movie is reaching its climax, that the truth will come out, their enemies will be destroyed, and the first day will dawn on their 1,000-year Reich. They want it so easy. They want an end to come about by the will of prophecy where they win once and for all. And I wish that I could say the same thing to us, but I can't. And that is what makes this so hard. I have to tell you that there will never be an end for us. I've been struggling against my dad for 20 years, and there has never been an end in sight. For the rest of our lives, and for our children's lives, and our grandchildren's lives, and everyone after them, we're going to be fighting back together against rising tides of fascism. And it's never going to end. Because that is what democracy is. It's the endless push against the force of gravity that pulls all politics into an autocratic vertical of power. And it's really frustrating, long, hard work with people who are both like us and different from us to figure out what future we're going to have together. And every word of that sentence is everything that the fascist can't handle. They would rather make up a world where they don't need to do that. But that world doesn't exist. Ours does. If it'll never end, which it won't, that means it can always get worse. But it can also always get better, both for society at large and for our personal relationships. We know that it can, because it has, for thousands of years, despite so many people believing the most insane paranoid delusions. Honestly, we've got an enormous leg up here, because most of us want a liberal consensus that invests in people's needs and opportunities and protects their freedoms in a fair political system. We just need to make our as of yet still democratic system recognize the legitimacy of that popular will more than the fascists violently force the system to indulge their fantasies. What I can tell you is that we're not doomed. We are never doomed. Fascism, though, is always doomed, because it operates on an increasingly unhinged refusal to accept reality. The point is to save who and what we can from fascism before picking up the pieces and moving forward again. So, if you're watching the hearings, I want you to understand that they are vitally important, but they are not the end. They're not even the beginning of the end. What they are is a new reason to do all the really hard things that will stop this in the future. Persuading, organizing, voting, helping people vote, running for positions on school boards or in election administrations. And, if you can do so safely, finding ways to break through the insecurities the people in your life feel that drive them to fascism. It's not like I do nearly enough. Some small donations, volunteer phone banking, whatever this is worth. And I know it's cheesy. No one likes to hear it, and no one likes to feel judged by these expectations. But it's not judgment. I won't think you're a better or worse person whether you do something or not. All that matters is that this is just what it takes. This is the reality that we live in that the fascists have chosen to reject. And this is always how I feel when I get dark about these things. Like I am now. It's never over. No matter what. That means both that it will never end, and it's not over yet.